Michael Jackson's Electric 11 Days of Dominance, presented by Soulful Charts. Michael Jackson needs no introduction. Some say he's the greatest entertainer to have ever lived. And even if you disagree, it's hard to not put him in the top 10 greatest of all time, at the very least. Michael Jackson has had many dominant days, dominant weeks, dominant months, dominant years, dominant decades. He had one of the most storied careers in the history of entertainment. In this episode of Dominant Days, I could focus on any number of periods during Michael's reign over the music industry. But I saw some Billboard chart data that really grabbed my attention. And after doing some more digging, I discovered that Michael Jackson pulled off quite a PR feat in an incredible 11-day span. So the year is 1993. Jackson's most recent release, his 8th studio solo album, Dangerous, is out in the marketplace. Released around Thanksgiving 1991, the album made some noise, as you would expect from a Michael Jackson release. But at the time, it's not the hottest thing in music the way his album Thriller was back in the early 80s. With that said, in 1993, Michael Jackson pulled off an incredible media blitz that started in late January of that year. On January 23rd, NAACP's 25th annual Image Award show was broadcast on TV. Jackson received the Entertainer of the Year award and then proceeded to break out into an impromptu performance after delivering his acceptance speech. 2 days later, Michael Jackson gives the opening performance at the American Music Awards. He won 3 awards that night and was given a special tribute to his career at the ceremony. Over 20 million households watched the show. But here's where the 11-day period sets off. 6 days after the American Music Awards, on January 31st, Michael Jackson headlined the halftime show of Super Bowl 27. An estimated 125 million people viewed the King of Pop's performance. 10 days later, on Wednesday, February the 10th, Oprah Winfrey interviews the reclusive King of Pop on ABC. The controversial interview generated the 20th largest television audience ever at the time. Yes, Michael Jackson pulled off one heck of a media blitz over an 11-day period, from the night of his electric halftime show at Super Bowl 27 on January 31st to the broadcast of the controversial interview he granted Oprah Winfrey on February the 10th. But how did Michael's media blitz impact the album sales of Dangerous? Well, initial reports of sales activity were underwhelming. In fact, retailers reported no noticeable surge in album sales. But those reports were premature, because within a week of the Oprah interview, Dangerous, an album that had been out for about 15 months, started having a resurgence on the Billboard charts. Dangerous sold almost 60 copies in the following week after the Oprah interview, which was twice as many copies as it had sold the previous week. And remember, the album was 15 months old, so it was past its peak performance in terms of chart activity and sales. While a solid surge in sales of Dangerous, Michael's current album at the time, is noteworthy, the media underreported an even more impressive resurgence in sales of Michael's older albums, Thriller and Bad, which seemed to be a result of his media blitz in early 1993. So there's a Billboard chart called Catalog Albums. And here's the chart's criteria. It ranks the 50 best-selling albums across all genres. An album's release date must be at least 15 months old, and its chart position must have fallen below number 100 on the Billboard Pop Album Chart, which is called Billboard 200. Basically, catalog albums are older releases. They're past the peak of their popularity. The projects may be a year and a half old or several years old, if not decades old. But regardless of how old they are, the albums are still selling in the music marketplace. You see a lot of greatest hits albums, best-selling albums of all time, and recent releases that are a couple of years old but still relatively hot on the catalog album chart. So, the catalog album chart is what I was digging through when I noticed that Michael Jackson's biggest selling album, Thriller, re-entered the catalog album chart at number 50 during the week of February the 13th, which was 2 weeks after the Super Bowl, and during the same week that Michael Jackson did the interview with Oprah Winfrey. The following week, Thriller jumped up an amazing 24 spots from number 50 to number 26. The next week, the week of February 27th, Thriller jumped up another 24 spots from number 26 all the way up to number 2 on the catalog album chart. So, Thriller, an album that was originally released in November 1982, re-entered the very bottom of the catalog album chart in February 1992 and moved up to the second spot in just a 2-week span. But that's not all. During the same week that Thriller was positioned at the number 2 spot, Michael's Bad album, originally released in August of '87, entered the chart for the first time at number 40. Bad peaked at number 10 on the catalog albums chart on March 27th, 4 weeks after its debut on that chart. Thriller was in the 4th spot at the time. So that means Michael Jackson had 2 of his albums in the top 10 at the same time on that chart. Bad spent 15 weeks in total on the catalog albums chart in 1993. Meanwhile, Thriller peaked at number 2 on that chart. It spent 2 weeks in the second spot, and it spent 5 weeks in the top 5 and 42 weeks total on the chart in 1993. The resurgence in sales throughout 1993 of Michael Jackson's biggest selling album, Thriller, and also Bad, was sparked by that 11-day span earlier that year between January 31st and February the 10th. Those were just 11 of Michael Jackson's many dominant days. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, hit the like button and leave your thoughts in the comments. Have a soulful music topic you would like to see featured on Soulful Charts? Let me know and maybe I'll give it a go in an upcoming episode. I encourage you to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell in order to be notified when new videos get released. And one more thing, share this channel with other connoisseurs of soul music. Peace.